Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Beyond Connections, your bi-weekly, whenever we can, um, opportunity to ask us analysts of Abacus Securities and MyTrade Philippines your questions about the stock market, about your portfolio, about the economy, about whatever you want to ask about investments. My name is Bess. I'm one of the analysts for Abacus, and as usual, I'm joined by my fellow analysts.
Hi, I'm Rainier, also one of the analysts for Abacus Securities, and I cover most of the consumer names and some of the gaming names. So, if you have any questions, please feel free to type in those requests.
And I'm Isaiah. I am one of the technical analysts for Abacus. Let me know what charts you would like to look at today, and we can go through them one by one.
Okay, thanks, guys. How was your week? I see, as usual. Anything? What's your read on the index so far?
Okay, so if we start with the index, can we show the index briefly? Uh, Shows up there. Yes, there you go. Thank you so much. So we recently tested 5,700 about um, some time ago. Um, Interestingly, the index has been below in a downtrend as defined by the 10-day moving average below the 200-day moving average for almost a year already at 146 trading days. It hasn't probably hasn't felt that good for most investors as the trend has been down. But I guess this has been opportunity if you are coming into the market. Say maybe some values have emerged according to Rainier or Best possibly. So we'll have to look at the index. Um, Best Rainier.
Thanks. I see. The 1 year downtrend for the index is that unusual? Or is that a typical length of time for such a trend in the past few years? Or maybe it's
The only other
something.
time was the during the pandemic in 2020, which was a more of a fast drop, but also spent about uh, 2024 trading days below that level. So it's been a while since that level. So it's been a grinder since for some time now. Yeah.
Okay, thanks again for that. So, um, earning season has just ended, and the year is about to end. What are you looking forward to in the next few weeks? For me, there are a lot of economic data that will be coming out. Um, in early December, there will be inflation numbers, BSP decision, Fed decision, second week of December. And then towards January, we'll have Q4 GDP. So lots to look forward to. Hopefully, we have more, if not good news, at least not so bad news in the weeks to come. How about you, Rainer?
On my end, I think Q3 so far was a wrap for the consumer space, and I think much of the narrative has been tilted more to weather disruptions that affected economic activity. That's seen across the board from the malls, the restaurants, and department stores, things like that across the board. But for Q4, I think we are seeing more tailwinds. And so far this year, we've seen much less typhoons that affected economic activity compared to the previous year. Last year, I remember that the Q4 last year, there was that series of weather disruptions that put some activity on hold and weakened consumer spending at that point. But for this year, we are seeing pockets of strength with lower inflation, lower rice prices, and this will lead to, I think, a more robust consumer spending for Q4, especially compare it to the previous year and the third quarter of this year.
Okay, I think we have. Thanks for that, Rainer. I think we have our first question, sort of question, in the chat box from Russell. Maybe these are stocks in his portfolio, Ali and ASEN. So while I see pulls up his charts, maybe I can talk a little bit about Ali. We are uh, our recommendation on Ali is neutral. We are expecting revenues to be uneven over the next year or so, over the next 12 to 15 months. There has been some unevenness in its earnings from lot sales, so that's one thing that is notable in its last earnings results. Also, a lot of renovations in their malls, so mall revenues are also a bit opaque. So we're not that positive on the stock, although property in general should benefit from um, the expected decline in interest rates in 2020. So maybe a chart first before we move on to ASIN.
So Ayala Land, here's a chart of Ayala Land. Um, if you look at the oscillator at the bottom, it's basically at an oversold level and is already almost turned or given a buy signal. So also on the channel here, big spike in volume as it broke above its downtrend line. So given the size of this descending channel, I would think that it would be set to test the upper end of the channel closer to 25 pesos, along with the rest of the market. So that's the view. That's a technical view on Ayala Land.
And
Are you going to
ASIN.
do ASIN first? Okay, ASIN. Weekly ASIN. ASIN, as you can see here, been in a downtrend for quite some time, almost 255 trading days, but has recently looks like a double bottom has been forming here with a breakout point possibly closer to 255. So it's already broken the downtrend line. Probably just needs to break above the 255 level for breakout traders. So that's the view on ASIN here.
Yeah,
It's
on the
turning bullish.
fundamental side, thanks for that, IC. I think on ASEN, I think much of the weakness this year has been reflected because of lower solar irradiance for the solar projects for ASEN that has been seen here in the Philippines and much of its power plants in Australia. That's why I think there were uh, some weaknesses, especially in the first half of this year. But I think it's still one of their drivers in the near to medium term. But there is that uncertainty when it comes to its SRO that was initially put on hold, but it's now still creating an overhang because in its recent earnings briefing, management has pretty much confirmed that it is still on the table and the timeline has just been moved to next year. So that remains to be an overhang for ASEN since the dilution effect will probably take more of a challenge in moving the price for ASEN. So I think that will affect some of the demand for ASEN.
Hey, thanks for that, guys. So we have our next question from Gio Gapasin. Which utility stock do you think will grow next year? There are only Meralco and the water utilities recent IPO of Maynilad. So maybe Isaac can do charts for all three while we talk about the fundamentals. So um, for For the water utilities, we are positive on Maynilad, but only on the back of we are expecting quite a good dividend yield coming from the stock. We are expecting about 6% for its payout for next year. That might keep the stock price elevated for those for investors that are looking for dividend yield. Manila Water has a slightly lower dividend yield, but we are expecting a boost in its net income because of the consolidation of Wawa JVCo, which will be a net positive on their earnings since even though there will be an increase in interest expense and depreciation and OPEX, this will be more than made up for by the elimination of the water charges that um, Manila Water pays to Wawa JVCo at the consolidated level. And also, both the water utilities will still have two more tranches of rate hikes that will be implemented in January of 2026 and 2027. So we are still expecting strong earnings growth for both of them. Maybe technical
For the
viewers.
yeah, the technicals for Meralco recently broke above this consolidation here at about 556 pesos. If you're looking to um, buy this uptrend, it would be at about 568 peso support. As for Manila Water, it's in a corrective phase, but recently broke above its downtrend line, so showing some strength. Support is closer to it's 36.95 pesos to 35 pesos. So if you want to um, buy the dips on this uptrend, those are the levels. Manila, not much price action, but I guess you'd have to go with the fundamentals on this one. Big volume here. Possibly next support about 1552 on Manila. Yeah, that's it for the utility stocks.
Yeah. Thank you for that, IC. I think just a bit of just to add on what Bess said, and just a bit of I guess a personal preference with the just to answer the question. I think all of the utility stocks, those three names will probably grow next year, but I think it's a matter of how big, especially given the scale of Meralco. I think they will grow at a much smaller pace compared to the water concessionaires. So I think when we talk about growth, our preference would be on either Maynilad or Manila Water. And if we talk about the yield between the three, I think so far, I think the most attractive will be on Maynilad. But I think what we've been telling some clients as well, I think can't really go wrong between Maynilad and Manila Water. So I think part of our thoughts you may read on our short takes, which we publish daily. So if you aren't a client yet, we do have Facebook groups as well to answer these questions. And if you want to to read those reports, please feel free to reach out to any of our social media pages to open an account with us.
Thanks, guys. So, next question again from Russell. With the uncertainty and scandals surrounding flood control projects, which sectors are most heavily affected? Um, I think one of the more obvious ones is the cement sector. However, there's not a lot of stocks in the PSE that are directly affected. Maybe DMC, maybe um, CHP, but that's not really that liquid. But we have seen, or these the flood control scandal could be the explanation why cement sales have been um, in the doldrums in the past few years. A bit of indirect effect as well on the banks, since the issue has created more uncertainty for businesses that have led to some delays or some delaying in their capex and expansion plans, investments. So the loans for production have actually been declining in terms of growth over the past few months, and we may see more of that heading into the first quarter. Um, any other sectors that you think are affected, Rainier?
I think we've seen it throughout the news, but there hasn't been really color on the impact to the luxury sector, luxury in both real estate and in the consumer side. But at least we did hear some comments by the likes of Ayala Land that showed some, I think there was some pause on uh, interested buyers on the luxury end of that segment. I think they are waiting for, I think, some clarity on the situation and how how much of how much of an impact or what's the severity of the situation is, since this will cause some fears on that part of the segment. And I think uh, we're not seeing it so much in Q3, but in Q4 that will be interesting. I think that's also one of the reasons why Ali has been performing much weaker compared to the likes of SM Prime and the rest of the property plays. Uh, then on the consumer side, so few names lang naman that will be affected. So it's SSI. I think there've been speculations that they will experience weaker sales because ayun, I think the scandal has been unfolded. So I think there will be some some weakness in spending, but that remains to be seen, and so it's more of a speculative discussion. So we aren't really banking on the weakness of those things on SSI. So, but for SSI naman kasi we're not really keen so much on it. So, not much impact on the consumer side, on the consumer sector at least.
Okay, so I don't think we have any questions left on the chat box. So feel free to post your questions. And in the meantime, any interesting stock I see that you're looking at?
Stocks that I have shortlisted today that may be of interest to our audience. ICT, um, still trading within its channel, could find support at about 519. There's also Pure Gold. Mm, Sending channel here to possibly test about maybe 55 at the upper end of its channel. So those are some of the interesting stuff that I've seen recently. Best right.
Yeah, thanks for that. Speaking of ICT, it's been one of the few stocks that have seen quite a good return so far this year. That's on very good earnings consistently over the past few quarters, on strong volumes, strong yields, and another bit of good news for ICT. They will be consolidating finally the South African port next year, which should happen sometime in the first half of next year and will greatly add to their volumes, um, since that port is one of the busiest in the part of the world. Follow up question: any chance that ICT will break out? from Hey Robin.
So the way, okay, you're probably talking about this consolidation at 559. Kind of see it more of testing this level before making new highs. So I do think that it will eventually, but would think that it would test about 519 before it goes higher. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. Next from Joe 040101. Converge and Monde. Maybe you could talk about Monde Rainer while I see post up charts.
Yeah, for Monde, I think just a few weeks ago they announced their results, and I think there has been a mismatch between the price action and the earnings announcement since I think Monde's Q3 earnings were I think slightly ahead of estimates, but the share price has declined after their announcement. I think there's been a lot of there's been a misreading on their earnings performance, and we believe it could be one of the names that could surprise to the upside for Q4 numbers. And I think our expectation is at least since since 2022 or 2021, it will be the first year that Monde will not book an impairment charge, and that impairment charge, kasi over the past years, has been one of the reasons why investors have been shying away from the stock. And uh, with the improvements in its meat alternatives, in corn in particular, I think we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel for Monday, and I think things are uh, things are shaping to be better for 2026, and margins do look more attractive for Monday. And just to add, I think their payout has also been more attractive. They've been growing their payouts since uh, they debuted in I think back in 2021. So they've been growing that part of their the commitments to the minority shareholders. So I think for Monday, our call is more of a underweight, and we believe it will outperform in the next 6 to 12 months.
So quick glance at the Monday chart. I broke support at 650, about 656 pesos 50 cents. It's showing some signs of a bullish divergence here, so hopefully it transitions to more of a bullish falling wedge. So that's the bullish technical case for Monde.
And how about Converge?
Converge. Converge. Good ones. Converge. Testing broke out of his descending channel, consolidated, traded sideways, and broke out from 13 pesos 12 cents, and is now testing this resistance level here. Wouldn't be surprised if it pulls back a little bit, but still in a counter trend. May look to sell eventually at 200-day moving average, closer to 16 peso 50 cents. Yeah, that's the view from the counter trend rally.
So Converge's earnings were bit sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Converge.
Yeah, Converge's earnings were flattish in the 9 months latest earnings report. I think most of the positivity over the past few weeks have been a relief. Can that be called a relief rally? Once the Konektadong Pinoy Act, IRR, or um, internal rules and regulations were published, which takes away some of the uncertainty that was hanging over the telco sector as a whole. Uh, I think the market was taking the rules and regulations for the KPA quite positively, but our opinion is that it still disadvantages the current players and is uh, is mostly advantageous for new entrants, which should be an overhang as well on not just Converge but also the other telco listed stocks over the medium term. Um, so I think we're only neutral so far for the sector. We will have to wait and see actually how much competition the incumbent telcos face from new entrants um, that will be coming in as a result of the Konektadong Pinoy Act. And I think this can be the last question from Lyrico 789. How about GTCap? GTCap actually had fairly strong earnings for the 9 months of this year, mostly coming from uh, over 30% growth, I think 38% net income growth for Toyota Motors Philippines, um, and flattish to mid single digit growth for Metrobank, which are its two biggest earnings drivers. So, although we have been seeing um, lackluster vehicle sales growth in the news for the overall automotive sector, Toyota actually has been faring better than the rest of the uh, car importers and retailers in the country. It has been able to defend its market share against the entry of Chinese brands and EVs. Um, its sales so far in October are is back up to about 20,000 units, which is one of the largest monthly sales so far this year, and we are expecting um, strong sales volume growth, which is typical of the last quarter of the year. This should be positive for GT Cap. However, it's not really on the radar of many investors and it's not really on the radar of foreign investors. So we're not really expecting a big shift in the stocks or big movement in the stock in the near term. And to end the session, a technical view.
Quick technicals on GT Cap. So it looks like it turned the corner, so to speak, with the downtrend line break. Next resistance levels would be 573 pesos, 50 cents, and then 640 pesos. So it looks like the downtrend is already done and it's ready to go higher. So that's the technicals on GT Cap. Thank you.
And that's all we have time for today, fortunately. And also, I think this will be the last Beyond Connections for the year. The next live that you guys may see, I don't know the scheduling yet. Maybe it's the outlook for 2025. Maybe it's the Marge review for Marge account holders. So that's something to look forward to. Any parting words, guys?
So for me, I think it's pretty much it has been a tough year, to say the least, and you might see more. I don't know. You might see more uncertainties. You might see more downsides, especially with the flood control issues or corruption scandals. And what we are looking at uh, in order to uh, in order to counter this impact is once we've seen reforms to address these concerns. And I think once that happens, or whenever that happens, I think that's going to be our cue to really be more optimistic on the market. But not for now, we remain on the lookout for potential plays and opportunities that lies along the way.
I just want to thank everyone for watching and joining us today. Wishing everyone the best. Good luck in their trades and their investments.
Yes, thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.